You hear them? There's a couple of them over there. Going good this morning.
It's always good to hear some birds with just 2 weeks left before the turkey season opens here. But that's not the reason I am back in here this morning. And this is another section of that hunting area that I have never hunted deer on before. Now, I have hunted these birds back here on several occasions. I've taken a few back in here, but I never see a lot of deer sign back in here. But I thought I might take another look at it because Michael and I were back in here late season hunting doves last year. And we spotted some rubs along the edge of a field heading back into a creek bottom, and I wanted to come take another look at it. Now, this time of year, early spring before it greens up, is the perfect time to get out and scout because you can really see the lay of the land. If you look down through the woods here, down over this direction, you can see that field I'm talking about, way out there through the trees. That's where we were hunting doves. And the rubs were along the edge here, and now I see why. There's a parking lot way up, maybe 3/4 of a mile on top of the hill on the other side of that field. There's another one back over in this direction, about 1/2 mile. That pressure coming in from both sides there pushes the deer back into this field and off the field down into the creek bottom, heading up in the opposite direction. Makes sense, doesn't it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get down here, see if I can't find a way to get across this creek and go back to where we found those rubs, see what kind of sign I see there now. Right. What I've been doing is I came down across the bottom, got across the creek in this field here, and I've been walking the edge of these fields looking for tracks along the cornfield edge. And I'm not finding much sign at all, even though there's still a good amount of waste corn laying in the field out here. What I have found is this larger field in general is cut up by hedgerows of trees running down through the low spots away from the general direction where the parking lot is over there. And when I cross between the little hedgerows where it separates the fields, that's where I'm finding the majority of the deer tracks. So it's pretty obvious they're running down along that cover edge in the low spots to get back in the creek bottom here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to head down into the creek bottom and see if I can pick up some sign coming off one of those trails, see where it takes me. So I came down off the field into the creek bottom here. What I started doing was I was just walking upstream along the river, looking for more pronounced trails coming off the field, and I'm still not finding a lot of sign. But as I got in here a little deeper, hedgerows come down across the creek, and there's a big ridge on the left over there. But there is a gully between two hills, and I found a pretty well pronounced trail coming down and crossing the creek. That's kind of what I'm doing down in here. I'm looking to see if deer have trails coming down here where they cross the stream. And it seems to be coinciding pretty much with this low spot between these two hills here, which makes sense. Deer like to take the course of least resistance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and follow this sign back up into the bottom here and see what it looks like. I walked up to the creek edge to look at the crossing. I don't know if you can see them, but there's a couple nice trout right down there. Okay, this is looking a little better here. I got down in the bottom, back in the thick, and the thick stuff had just deer trails winding all the way through it. It's pretty obvious they're getting back in there and using that for escape cover. But as I was making my way down those trails, I found a stronger trail, one with a little more track on it, and I followed that back towards the field, and I found a real heavy creek crossing going across this little stream, this little feeder stream here. And that's coming right off one of the gullies between the two hills. This trail comes down here and goes across this creek here. There's a lot of activity here. I'm not going to stop looking around, but right down here about 40 yards across this little stream, I found a couple real nice clean trees that I think deserve a closer look when the season gets a little closer to opening. All right, it's getting to be mid-morning here, and I haven't heard much out of those turkeys since daybreak. I'm gonna have to get up here and do a little homework on them too, but took a good look around, and I'm still not impressed with this particular area. I'm not finding a whole lot of deer sign. So even though I'm going to call it this whole field and river bottom area, we're going to call this spot 3 for the purpose of the series. But I'm not going to mark anything on my GPS just yet. There's a couple reasons for that. One is I'm going to be back in here chasing those turkeys this spring. When things green up, I'll have more chances to look around for deer sign on slow mornings when the turkeys aren't cooperating. The second reason is this was corn last year. Now, if you follow the rules of crop rotation, these fields should be planted in soybean. And by the time the season opens early next September, you should be able to see some deer feeding on these fields. Give you a better idea of what they're doing. So I'm going to hold off setting up any particular spots. We'll get back on spot 3 here while I'm hunting turkeys and over the summer, and try to refine it down to a point where I can mark a few trees on my GPS and pick some spots to get hunting. Now, before the woods green up this spring, I want to get out and find at least 2 more spots. We're going to get on that the very next morning. I get a chance to get out and do some more scouting.
That one sounded really big.
What a beautiful early spring morning out here. I was coming in at first light, listening for birds, and I heard several of them going off down over in this other direction here. I headed back in here where I was headed, and there was an old hen sitting up in a tree, and she was just yelping and yelping. I had to stop. I didn't want to spook her, listen to her for a while. She ended up flying down. She kept yelping and yelping. I think she called one of those gobblers in. Sounded like he was moving this direction, and I think they went out over into the field. The field's about 150, 200 yards back this way. So I'm definitely going to be easing out of here, taking a look, seeing what those birds are doing. There's about 10 days till the season opens. But that's not the only reason I came back in here this morning. I'm going to call this spot number 4. Now, I have hunted deer on this particular area before. In fact, this is one of the spots I found when I was filming unconventional tactics for scouting white-tailed deer. Except I never got back here and hunted this one. Me and Michael hunted the other one. That's the one where we took those 3 deer the first time we were in there hunting it. That was a hell of a drag. But, no, I never got a chance to get back here and hunt this spot, so this is going to be number 4. I came back in here to look at this again this morning while I was listening for turkeys. Because I have hunted turkeys back in there. I wanted to make sure they were still hanging around. But when I was back in here last summer taking a look around, there were some red oaks dropping, and I found some persimmon trees right over here too, and the sun was just, there was a deer track just beating all down in here heading to those persimmons and oaks. But I never got the right wind to get out here and hunt this spot, so I'm hoping to get back in here and hunt this again this fall. I'll take a look at it late summer. I got my rangefinder here, brought my rangefinder along. Found me a perfect tree about 17 yards from this trail, and it's got a spot 23 yards right at that persimmon drop. Now here, Here's the thing, don't forget to take your batteries out of your rangefinder if you're not going to be using it for a while. I know a few of you did. Go get it and take them out right now. You don't want your expensive rangefinder to be all corroded up when you get it out next time you want to use it. So take my advice and get the battery out of there. I know from experience that can happen. It costs a lot of money to replace these things. But I'm all set up back in here. If I can get a good southeast, southeast wind, try to catch these deer coming into spot 4 here this fall, I will. So I hope you drop a comment on here. Let us know what you think of our new series. And hope you'll subscribe, because I'll be out here scouting. I'm going to turn my attention to the turkeys now. It's getting hot. About 10 days till season opens, and I need to scout these birds, see what they're doing. But slow mornings in the turkey woods are a great time to scout. If you want to see how I found this spot, check out that video, Unconventional Tactics for Scouting White-tailed Deer. I'll put a link right up here. I found some good spots scouting in the spring. Now, we're also going to have a bunch of fishing coming up. Crappie seasons, get ready. We may do some shad fishing, just all kinds of great outdoor action. Michael and Matt, Shaban, Desiree, they're down in the Southwest doing a herping video right now. We'll have that footage up here for you too soon. So drop a subscription on here. We're www.camochairproductions.com. You can find us online, or find us here at Sharing the Outdoors at YouTube. We'll see you again real soon.